Hello and welcome to this GEA broadcasting. Today we are at a farm in Holland and we are so excited that we are able to show you our new automated feeding system, the DairyFeed F4500. My name is Kenneth Arnswood. I am a sales support manager for automated feeding at GEA. And here with me today I have one of my good colleagues as well as other in our feeding team. But let me start with you, Walter. Could you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you, Kenneth. My name is Walter Weimann, and as Kenneth said, I'm working at GEA also, and I support the AFS team a little bit.
Thank you. So we're going to start to talk about feed. We're going to talk about feeding and of course automated feeding, and we're going to talk about grouping of cows, and we're going to talk more into detail about our new feeding system, the F4500. So let's start. Where are we here? We're in the kitchen, and we have in this system, on this farm, we have 4 bunkers with different kinds of feed. What feed do we have here, Walter?
We have grass silage, we have corn silage, and we also have corn cob mix, for example. But Kenneth, feeding starts not when we are in the kitchen and the feed is in the bunker. It starts much earlier.
Yeah? How so?
How so? I would say feeding starts at that moment when the farmer decides, okay, what kind of feed do I have? What possibilities do I have on my farm to produce? So mainly all the farms do have grass silage, of course. Yeah. Some farms are able to produce corn silage by themselves or they buy it. And some farms also have the possibility to produce their own grain, for example, for energy feed. Yeah. So that's the things the farms have at their farm. And then they also buy feed for protein, for example. They also buy minerals. So here at the farm, as you said, we have 4 bunkers. So we have 2 for grass silage, 1 for the good grass silage for the cows, and 1 from the 3rd or 4th cut, for example, for heifers and so on. We have corn silage, we have corn cob mix, we have 3 different minerals, we have energy feed, and we have protein feed.
And the possibility of adding water.
Yeah, yes. Water also. So if the feed is really dry, you can add water, of course.
Yeah. So we actually brought a couple of samples.
Yeah, I can show a little bit. So we have, for example, corn silage. What is important with the corn silage? The main thing is that the corn is really good broken, so that in room bacteria is able to make energy out of it. So it's a good energy feed.
Yeah. What else did you bring?
So we do also have some grass silage, for example. What is important with the grass silage? The main thing to have a good mix later is to have a right cut length of the fiber, for example. Like we see here, it could be a little bit smaller, but this is okay. So we will see later in the mix that it is really good mixed.
Yes. So a good feeding starts with a good feeding strategy and a good plan. That's what you say. So we're starting on the field. What about in the silo? Now it's getting dark, so we cannot go and take a look. But they're doing a really good job here. So how does it look when we look at it?
Yeah, here at the farm it looked really good because the cut was really a hard cut. So no waste will be there, and it's always nice to see when it is really good cutted.
Yes. So then we have the feed in the magazines, and the magazines we then fill the feeding robot and we mix it. So we will get back to the feeding robot in just a second, but let's go and have a look at the animals and let's talk about why they have different needs and what we can do about it.
Yeah, let's go to the barn.
Okay. So Walter, now we're in the barn and we are at the feed alley. So let's talk about the different needs of different animals.
Yeah, so we have on this farm, for example, lactation cows. We have two groups of dry cows, close up and far off, and we have two groups of heifers, and they, of course, they have different needs for their nutrition.
Yes. And how many groups did we have here?
5.
5.
Yep.
And what is the difference between a typical conventional farm and then a farm where we have automated feeding like this? What can we do?
Yeah. Let's take the example with dry cows, for example. So here on the farm we have two groups of dry cows. If we go with conventional feeding, the amount for this group, the group is 5 cows or 6 cows only, is really small. So in conventional systems, like here in the past, the farmer told me that he did feed his dry cows only every second or every third day. Yeah. That means it's, now let's say, old feed, and that's different. So the cows do not have that intake they should have. So here with the new feeding system, we have the possibility to have smaller rations and to feed them every day.
Yeah. And actually most farmers are perfectly aware of this and would like to do it, but they struggle because it takes so much time.
Time is one thing, and the other thing is the possibility to mix it. So if you have a big mixer and you have these small amounts of feed, it does not work.
No. So Walter, the focus is of course very often on the lactating cows. But and how to group them. But there are other animals with different needs, and often they are in much smaller groups. So what about, for example, the heifers?
Yeah, it's the same with the heifers. So we have on a lot of farms we have small groups of heifers, and they do feed them once every second day or something like that, and that does not work in that case that good.
No. So now we're going to have a look at the robot in just a second, and it's now mixing one of the freshly prepared rations for the groups. But this is also one of the things that we can do is prepare fresh feed during the day. So how many times per day are we typically putting fresh feed in front of the animals here?
So here we have 6 to 8 times, for example. It depends on if the cows are in summer times out in the pasture or if they are completely in the barn. So one example from this year was that one farmer told me who changed from conventional to automatic feeding. It was during the hot summer time. In the past, he did feed his cows once a day. So the feed on the trough got warm and the cows did not have that intake. During this summer, it was really hot. The farmer had the experience that the cows did eat more because they got their feed 8 times per day, so in small rations, for example.
So he could simply increase feed intake in that way?
Yeah. So his cows were better during this hot summertime in condition.
Yes, that's wonderful. So when we talk about automated feeding, there are so many points where we can improve. Typically we talk about more fresh feed, less sorting, better grouping, feeding according to nutritional needs, which we already talked about, improved appetite, and because of that in better feed intake, more milkings, of course, if you have milking robots, higher yield, less feed waste. What do we typically see when we talk about waste? How much waste is typical when we talk about conventional feeding on a farm?
We talk about 5 to 7% waste, for example, and as you know, feeding is around 60% of the amount of costs in a farm. If you can save money with this waste, so we have in automatic feeding systems around 2% waste, and that's in times when feed is that expensive, it's a lot of money you can save with that.
Yes. And at the same time, with all these improvements, possible improvements, at the same time the farmer typically uses less time and gains more flexibility. So it is really an amazing tool. So we are back in the feeding kitchen, and we would now like to give you a closer look on our feeding robot, which you already see. And to help us getting more into detail, I would like to introduce to you Carolina Hennings. Carolina?
Hello, Kenneth.
Hi.
Hello, everyone.
Carolina is head of feeding at GEA, and she will now explain more about our F4500 in detail.
Great. So let's talk a little bit about the robot first of all. So this robot is integrated with navigation sensors that allowed us to make a map of the farm, and together with our patent pending chassis technology, it allowed us to drive under different conditions. With these two, we have a great flexibility to drive in different barn layouts and different terrains. So that's the first thing that you need to know. Second important thing, so this machine is connected to DairyNet, that is our new herd management system. So actually I have here in my tablet the current status of the robot, so you can see that actually was pretty busy feeding all day long.
So this is the feeding plan.
This is the feeding plan of this specific machine. So in a moment you will see that it's going out to feed the dry cows at this time at night, which is great for the farmer, by the way. So this system, as I was mentioning, is connected to our DairyNet. That means that we can also generate several reports. So here you will see in the report section that we can actually take a look on the complete feed consumption, yeah, and we can also make some cost and feed efficiency reports if we want to, yeah. So this is only a glance of what you can do, depending on if you have a milking robot or if you have, for example, our concentrate feeders. We can combine this information and show you how much feed is consumed in all GEA devices, which give a great advantage. And of course, you see this on tablet, on your computer, and from the comfort of a mobile phone if you are not in the farm.
So this is available to the farmer.
Exactly, this is available to the farmer. And other great feature that we have is that we have 24/7 condition monitoring of this machine with our farm view system. So that allowed us to have all the technical information of the robot, and that is pretty important for our dealers and for our customer to make sure that this machine keep on running every single day of the year.
Yeah. We have seen over the years that when you're able to connect to the machine, that very many smaller issues can be solved, so that the dealer doesn't even he can solve it from a distance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and this is why we consider this kind of technology extremely important for us.
Yes.
And last but not least, of course, we're talking here about feeding. And this machine is able to make mixes of up to 2.2 cubic meters. Yeah, it's equipped with a feed bell that can fit in both directions, and that allowed us to go in very narrow feed alleys, up to 2 meter to 2 meter 50.
Yeah, we need at least 2 meter 50.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
And that also, if you have an old building and a new building, that's also that give us also a lot of flexibility in the height as well. The robot is pretty compact, so it's not too high, 2 meters 20 top. So which is pretty great. And I think that I mentioned already the main features here for you to know. And I would say that now we can see actually the robot doing what it's supposed to do. So let's take a peek how it's feeding.
Let's have a look.
Kenneth, we are coming to the end of the show. We hope that you enjoy this video. And before we go, we would like to remind you one more time that we would be next week at the Eurotier. Myself, Kenneth, but also the other colleagues. Please, Walter, Michael, Andresa, our very talented marketing colleague would be there as well. And we were all very happy to see you. So, thanks for watching us. See you next week. Bye.
Bye.